There it goes. Well, what's really cool about Java is it includes some free, they call them APIs or application program interfaces. These are a set of classes that are included for free. You don't have to import them. You don't have to add them. They're just there. And by using those APIs or those calls like math.random, you don't have to write a method yourself that figures out how to come up with a random number. Or you don't have to write a method yourself that figures out how to come up with absolute value. You can just use the capital M math.abs and it will do that problem for you. So we're going to learn the APCSA provided math APIs that you are allowed to use on your AP exam. And not only are you allowed and encouraged to use them on your AP exam, they will be on the cheat sheet that you get when you take the exam. That will be, if we take the exam in person, in the beginning of your test booklet and a perforated sheet that you'll be able to, just like an old style workbook, rip out of your test booklet and keep right at your side as you're writing your code and as you're answering your 40 super challenging multiple choice questions. For example, string. String is an example of a provided API for you. You don't have to worry about managing the string. You can use all those string dot operators. Those are great examples of APIs. So you can type string dot length, open paren, close paren. Oh, yeah, open paren, close paren, and it will return to you the length of the string. This is the official guide to the this is the official quick reference that you're provided. Today, we're going to be going over a lot of those in the math class category. And you'll notice it has the word static in front of it. The static means that you don't have to create an instance of the class. You just can type math.abs, and it will return to you an int. You can type math. And that's for an int or a double. It will return to you the data type that you return, which is really cool. You can type in math.pow and a base and an exponent, and you'll get back the result of x to the y power or base to the exponent power. Same with square root. You can, and the same with this evil random, the hardest one. So those, actually, I consider them just four. I know it says ABS twice, but that's an ABS for an integer and an ABS for a double. Those four calls to the math class are given to you for free. What I mean by you don't have to create an instance of the math class just means that normally, like when we did string operators, for example, we would create a new string called name, and we'd load it with your name. And then we go name.length, and it would return the length of name. In the case of the math static methods, you don't need to create an instance of math. You can just go math.abs, put in the value or put in the variable with the value, and it will return the results without having to go through this creation step, which is very useful. These are the three APIs that we're going to go over first. These are like the easy APIs. Absolute value. For those of you who've taken math classes, hopefully that's an easy one. It just prevents you from being negative. It's a great way to be a positive person. You look at the absolute value. So, for example, when you're calculating distance, especially in two-dimensional or three-dimensional or, I don't know, four or n-dimensional space, whatever, you might get a negative result, and distance can't be a negative result. So you want the absolute value of that distance so that you can take off the negative value and get the correct result. So absolute value is a useful math function that would require you to write some code to, if the value is negative, then multiply it by -1, and then there'd be some special cases about with wraparound and things like that. Don't worry about it. Just call absolute value. Math.abs, throw in the value, and it will calculate it for you. Square root is a little messy, but you want to make sure that your return result with absolute value is a double, because it's easy if it's 9, the square, like math dot square root of 9 would be nice and clean 3. But if it was math dot square root of 2, it's going to be like 1.414213 or something, and it's going to be messy. So you want to make sure that you use a double to get that value properly, and then raise to the power, you're going x to the y. X is the base, y is the power. So for example, 2 to the third power would be 2 times 2 times 2, which would be 8. 2 to the fourth power would be 16, or 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that kind of thing. Yeah, notice that you want to make sure that you return the right types of values. How do you know what types of values it returns? Well, you can look at your chart, or you could just kind of use, I would call it common sense kind of thing. When you think of square roots, you think of numbers coming back in small parts, needing decimals. Same for power of, because you can do the power of negative numbers too, which means it's getting super, super small. So, or to the negative base, like for small numbers. So, by the way, we're only doing 2, but Java actually provides many, many, many different math dot, all of these words actually work. So you can do math dot floor and it would work. You can do math dot round and it would work. Math dot log and it would work. All of these functions work, but the AP only requires you to use the 4 that we've talked about in class. But just be aware, this math class is much richer than we're going to cover today in class. I think the coolest way to, I mean, it was great listening to my lecture. I'm sure you were all engaged at the edge of your seat and were like, wow, this math class absolutely rocks. But what I'd like to do is actually let you practice this math class a little bit. So what I've done is I've created just a little practice. This isn't an assignment, but it is in our Replit area. It's called 2.9 Math Class. And let me show you what I want you to do with it. The default version that you come with just returns x plus y. So yeah, 2 plus 8. How boring. So I can find 2 plus 8. Can you find the square root of a? Can you find the absolute value of b? And can you find out what x might be to the, whoops, it should be to the y, oh, to the yth power. There it is there. X to the yth power. So my challenge to you is to write the code, and you're welcome to use this format if you want, and solve those problems, keeping in mind you're going to be using the math class. Just to give you a little bit of a clue, I'll start by typing a little bit for you. Math dot square root, I think, is that. And then I asked you to find the square root of a. So of course, I'm going to find the square root of y, which is the wrong one. You're supposed to find the square root of a. But the square root of y, and then you see it returns it. But don't use y. Use the right one. And then do the same thing for the other 2. While you're doing that, I'm going to just quickly take attendance and submit it. I noticed Charlie joined and Nikolai joined. So I definitely won't mark you guys absent. Has anyone seen Merrick? Merrick, are you out there? Okay, Merrick is our only absent. We miss you. Marked. I'm cyber stalking you via GoGuardian. Tell you what, when you're done, would you mind raising your hand on the Meet? So when you get that done, just go to the Meet and raise your hand. If you get done early and you want another level of challenge, see if you can just create a variable and do the same thing, only just practice creating the variable. Oh, that was hard. Like I did with this problem here. It's a little bit trickier to make it as a variable, but so if you want to challenge, feel free to check out my screen where I made it as a variable, which means you have to make sure you get the right type. Data types are a pain in Java. They're actually a perk long-term. They prevent some nasty bugs that you start to get in JavaScript because you think it's one type and it's actually another type. But it adds complexity at the start. Got several people with their hands up. Keep cranking out the code. Way to go. Nice, nice, nice. Looks really good. Great job, folks. If you are struggling, I'm going to take a screenshot of my answers and let you come back later to finish it. And then I'm going to put that screenshot into the slide deck. I have one, on the next slide anyway, too. Okay. Well, I guess I overshared. What a shock. Mr. Rhodey overshares. But as you can see there, all you're doing, it's easier than it sounded. I guess I shouldn't have made such a big stink about static method calls, but I'm into that stuff. The capital M math is a class. It's a static class, so I don't have to create an instance of it. And I call the square root method to figure out what the square root of A is. That's as easy as can be, right? And again, there's the absolute value function and the power function. There's a whole list of functions that you can use that same thinking with, that same method you can use for all of these different math functions, and there's probably more. This is, I stole out of our big Java book, but there are lots of different things that you can do with that awesome math function. All of those are really easy and fun to use because then you don't have to calculate it yourself or come up with other things. You notice I also didn't have to import any classes. They're just there, which is really, really cool. Remember when we did like system.in where we had the inputs and we had to like import the scanner class and all these other libraries in order to make the scanner work and take in user input from the console? Well, the math class doesn't require any of those annoying imports. It just works. So if you're struggling with that, feel free to come back to that later. I'm going to move on. Feel free to, if you're brave enough, thanks for raising your hand. Feel free to put your hand down. We will use it again. And now talk about something random. Here is something random. Mr. Rhodey with a little bit of hair riding a raptor. That's right. The danger of teaching computer science is that you will be photoshopped a lot. So that's pretty random. And talking about random, there is a random method inside of math that the AP actually expects you to know, even though there are a gazillion easier ways to get a random number. APCSA wants you to learn this way. My apologies. I'm so sorry. Welcome to the torture. Now, math random stinks. Now, I know at first this is going to be really intimidating, but I'm going to make it easier for you. But just so I can be a good teacher, I'm going to lecture about how it works, and I'm going to show you some shortcuts, cheat methods. What math.random does is it generates a random decimal value between 0 and 9999999. It doesn't generate 1. It's short of 1. So it generates a random decimal between 0 and that just shy of 1. So what that requires you to do is and then you're going to multiply it by a value and then add a value. And then if you want an int, which is what we're going to be talking about today, you can do this with doubles too. You just don't cast it into an int. And we're not even going to talk about doing that. It's easy if you need it someday. But what you have to do is you have to multiply that small decimal by a value and then add a value. Talk about a nightmare. It's awful. But if you use my cheat technique, it's not so bad. So my cheat technique, and okay, I shouldn't take credit for it. It's everyone's cheat technique. I shouldn't act like I invented this stuff. But this cheat technique works really, really well. This is the way a random call might look. If I want to find a random integer named r, I would write that casting call, int, in parentheses, that casts the number into an int, and I would generate a random number between 0 and 0.999, and then multiply it by 7, and then add 3. What the front door does that mean for the range of possible answers? Well, the easy one is what the low number will be. The lowest possible number will be that this random number will be 0, and then 0 times 7 would be 0, and then you just add 3 to it. Or so the lowest number is always going to be what comes after the plus sign. So in the case of number 1, the lowest answer possible is a 3. In number 2, the lowest number possible is going to be a 2. And in number 3, the lowest number possible is going to be a 1. So the low number is always what's in that plus number at the very end. That's always going to be the low. The high is a little trickier. Get ready for this. The high number is this number right after the open paren, close paren, 7, plus the low number, 3. 7 plus 3 is 10, minus 1. You always subtract 1 out of that. So what is 7 plus 3? 10 minus 1, 9. So the low is 3 and the high is 9. Is that annoying or what? Let's do number 2. We take 5 plus 2, 7, minus 1, 6. 100 plus 1 is 101, minus 1 is 100. So the only time this kind of works like you'd expect is 1 and 100. When the answer is 1, it kind of works like, I don't know, this is the low, this is the high. But that's because the plus 1, anyway, that's the way it goes. Now, practicing this will really help you out. So what I'm going to beg you to do is go to your Google Classroom. Inside your Google Classroom, there is one of my famous worksheets. I just made it last night. So the odds of there being a mistake are super high. Please do your best to find my mistakes. I hope I did it right. But again, I did this last night when I was thinking about how to teach this evil concept. When we do this in person, we do these fun games on the board, and there's this random thing with sticks. It's really kind of a fun activity. I don't have that this year. We can't be in the same space. So we're going to do it this way. And if you wouldn't mind just practicing this low minus high, I have 3 different, and they're not really assignments. They're not going to be homework. You have an exam to study for. But if you can try to do 1 and 2 are the same. Don't feel the need to go to 3 yet. I'll tell you how to do 3 in just a little bit. But let's do 1 and 2, as many as you can. And I'm just going to, for the sake of practice time, I'm just going to say practice this for 5 minutes. And if you get done early, and everyone gets done early, I'm just going to ask you to raise your hand when you're done. And if everyone gets done early, we'll just stop. But I think 5 minutes is a reasonable amount of time to work on this. I'm watching screens and nobody seems too stuck. That's a good sign. Oh, some of you are struggling to find it, I think. It's in Google Classroom. Click on the assignments tab, or click on the classwork tab. And it's called random number practice under number 2 using objects. Sorry about that. It is a little hidden. Wow. Kip and David. Or did you just not lower your hand like I did? I don't know. Nicely done. People are getting done. Okay. So it's not too bad. You mean it took me way longer to make the assignment? That's good. That's good. See a lot of hands up. I've got about, on the timer, we have about 2 minutes left. Sorry about that. That was me. I do want to, first of all, I noticed some people's screens froze, that they like genuinely struggled to load the activity. Sorry about that. 2020. I don't even know what to say other than, sorry, very sorry. So some of the people who didn't finish, it's not because they didn't know what to do. It's because they had computer freezes loading this shared spreadsheet and multitasking. What I could do, I could help that way. I should have done that all along. Would you mind putting your hands down? And now I want to teach one more activity related to this, and then I want to talk about the test. The other way to do the random. Okay, that was kind of and what you're going to see is you're going to see multiple choice questions. I almost guarantee every year there's one of the 40 multiple choice questions will be something like showing one of the problems like you have there and saying, is the range between 7 and 3? Is the range between 1 and 9? Is the range between 3 and 9 or 3 and 10? You know, and it will give you all those good choices and you have to pick the right one, which you can see how all of those could be right depending on how you broke apart the problem. So it's really, really nasty. This is the correct way to do it. Again, and they might put in variables too to make it even trickier. It might say somewhere int A gets 7, int B gets 3, and then ask you to do the solution for times A plus B, which by the way is what we're going to do next. Now, a more likely scenario for you as a programmer is you will have a range of numbers you want. Maybe like in problem 3, you want to generate a range of the dice throw between 1 and 6, and you want to come up with that random number. So you have to solve for what goes in A and what goes in B, and in this case, it's kind of smooth, but again, it's tricky. So the B is easy, right? The B is always going to be that minimum. So for number 1, that B is going to be that 1 because I'm going between 1 and 10. So B is going to be easy. When the range is between 5 and 10, again, B is easy. It's that 5. And for a range of 1 and 6, the B again is easy, a 1. It's the A that's a pain in the Java. So to solve this pain in the Java, what you have to do is you have to take, I know this is annoying, you have to take the max minus the min. So in this case, 10 minus 1, 9, and then add 1, 10. The max, 10 minus 5, 5, plus 1, 6. By max and min, I mean the max and min in the range. So it's almost like you start to work, if only I had a whiteboard, you'd take that 10 and then go minus 5. Get it? So it's like 10 minus 5, and then you add the 1 back in. And that's what goes in the A. So this won't surprise you, and I'm going to stop presenting. Maybe this will help with your bandwidth. Assignment 3 asks you to reverse the problem. So if you wouldn't mind going to assignment 3 and solving on assignment 3 those problems, when you are done, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand. So reverse the process and solve assignment 3. If anyone finds any typos, let me know. Oh, it also might help. You're not going to need Replit anymore today. So it might help to exit Replit. For those of you who are struggling with bandwidth, I've ended presentation mode. That should help a little. Closing Replit, which maintains an active connection to a server. It's actually using cloud-based computing. You actually have at your fingertips a Ubuntu server.
Mr. Rhodey, I'm pretty sure 4A is wrong.
Nice. Thank you for proofreading.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be 5, but 5 doesn't work.
Okay, so 11 minus 6, or 11 minus 7 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Right? Did I do that right? I think 11 minus 7 is 5, plus 1 is 6.
11 minus 7 is 4.
It is. 12 yeah. By the way, 4th grade was a struggle for me. I'm going to fix that. You are absolutely right. And I even stuck to it. What's 11 minus 7?
4.
Oh! What's 3 plus 7 then? Sorry. Yeah, I totally messed that up. That's embarrassing, man. Messing up my math facts. If you didn't hear that, Jason is right. Man, who taught Mr. Rhodey 4th grade? By the way, Jason, that's now recorded for all time, so I can go back and watch that. All right, folks, great job with that. If you need to finish it later, don't stress out about it. Feel free to finish it during the 15 minutes between classes or finish it whenever. It is not due. I'm not correcting it. I'm not marking it as a work habit or anything. It is just something I'm asking you to just do for practice to get this random stuff in your head, how it works. It is really, really tricky. I have to Google it like every time I do it. This way. There are other ways to generate random numbers, by the way, that you can import that are just way easier. But this is the one the AP wants you to know, so this is the one I teach you. Now, time to talk about the 2-day torture that's coming up. On Monday and Tuesday, I normally give 90 minutes for an assessment, a normal class period. I try really hard and would avoid Wednesdays. But 2020, so I'm trying something new here. That was not enough time to do the 2 parts of the assessment last time I gave you an assessment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it into a Monday assessment and a Tuesday assessment. I'm going to release it all Monday morning. So you can do it kind of at your pace. So some of you, for example, don't have a second hour. Some of you don't have much else in your schedule. Some of you are busy, busy, busy. No matter what your situation, I am going to ask you to come to class at 8 o'clock on both Monday and Tuesday for a check-in and attendance. I promise to be really brief and not be chatty and just say get to work, but I do need to log you in for attendance purposes so that I can mark you as present. Then I'm just going to send you to work. So on what I'm suggesting, but you can go in any order you want because I'll release it all at once, is that on day 1, you do the multiple choice questions in AP Classroom. On day 2, you do the 2 free response questions that are going to be inside of Google Classroom. They'll be in a document just like last time, but unlike last time, you don't have to take a photograph. I'm going to let you just type your code right on the sheet. Even better than that, I'm going to give you the code and encourage you to use Replit to copy and paste it. Now, I'm not going to set it up for you. If you want to use Replit, though, you can copy and paste the code snippet right in the Replit, and you can use that code, and then you can, the base code I give you, and then you can write your solutions right there, and then just copy and paste your solutions out and put them into the assessment, and you can test them in Replit to make sure they're perfect and they work. So you are going to be able to do that. You can break it up any way you want. You can do whatever you need to do to get that 2-day assessment complete. I'll unlock those again Monday morning. You are welcome to use Replit. You are welcome to look at past problems to solve them. So you have a lot of resources for this assessment. It's going to be scored, and you want to do your best and use every resource you can. You will have 4 challenging methods to write that are somewhat similar to the questions that you were given for the assessments that were due today. Although I'm not going to correct until the weekend. I'll explain that in a little bit. Oh, this is the time when I can explain that. Okay, so the assignments I gave you that are due, oops, I forgot to project. 1 second, I want you to get a visual here, and I want to put it on the screen for people who are watching the video. These are the dates, these are the times that things are going to be due. Something else important to note, you have a big assignment that was due. You had, inside of Google Classroom, I've gone to a new system that I'm hoping makes it a little easier for you. Inside of Google Classroom, what I've done, just to make it simpler for you to see, is I have given you stars when something is being scored. So this string challenge, which 6 of you have turned in and 17 of you still need to finish, they have 2 stars. That means it's scored. I'm going to kind of use 1 star to mean it might be scored, 2 stars to mean it will definitely be scored, and 3 stars to mean that, notice some of you haven't even done your Java yet, your reading yet, and 3 stars to mean it's an assessment. So 5 of you still haven't turned this in. So that the 3 stars is a very big deal. 2 stars is I'm going to grade it for sure. 1 star is I'm not sure. Here is where, and I'm going to move the caret up to the little dash arrow, dash greater than is going to be on here on Monday. But this right here is just a practice. It is not graded. You'll notice there is no asterisk around it or anything. It's just a practice. This question looks exactly, well, not exactly. It looks very similar in format to what you're going to see on the actual test you're going to be taking for your free response question, which I'm suggesting you do on Tuesday, but you might want to just do it all on Monday, or however it works into your schedule. It will not be available till Monday morning, but however you want to fit it into your life and get it done. I'm being obviously extremely laid back in 2020. By the way, this is not at all the way it worked when we were in person. I gave you the packet in the back of the room, and you had to turn it in, and you had to actually write down your answer. You could use Replit for the first couple tests, but you had to still turn it in. Notice that I have written my question exactly the way the AP writes their questions. I've copied their format. And some people jokingly say that the AP test, all AP tests, but the AP Java test is not really a test on Java. It's a reading test with a little bit of Java sprinkled in. So as you can see, there's a lot of reading to do, and you can earn a proficient by doing this initial challenge, which, by the way, is very similar intentionally to the challenge I gave you for the other activity. Again, here are the rules that we've already been over, but feel free to reread them. This is the code, but you have to write the methods. And here I start the methods for you. So I'll give you the method starts. So what you can do is you can just copy and paste this code into Replit. So you can make when you have Replit up, just to show you what that looks like, all you would have to do is, I'm just going to make a new Replit project in Java. I'm going to call it exam. Please save me. Oh, sorry. I can grab the code from here. Here's the code. I can copy it. Here's my Replit. I can delete the old one, paste down this one, and run it. And look at that. It doesn't work yet. It's almost like I have to write more code. So that's how, and then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to write some methods, and you're going to have to know where those methods go. You're going to have to use the method signature I gave you, which, by the way, is right here. Control, it's right here. Control C, back to Replit. Control V, look at that. Oh, and it's already got an error because good habit, always declare the correct type and always return it. Look at that. Uh-oh. String initial. Expected what? Expected. Huh. I don't know what I messed up there. Public, static, void. Oh, Mr. Rohde. Typo. That was my fault. Let's hope I don't make a typo on the test. I do have my TAs proofing it, but if you see any of that, TAs, would you please fix that? That was definitely a typo. That was my bad. Can you believe they pay me to do this? Anyway, now it works when I got rid of the word void. Let's hope I don't have any typos in my actual test, right? But that's what you're going to do, is you're going to then have to write those classes. By the way, this is very similar to the assignment that is due. So if you have questions on the assignment, go to that Discord channel, contact me via email. I try really hard to be highly available to all of you for this big exam that's going to be on Monday. Before I sign off, I'm wondering if there are any questions I can answer for the group about the quiz, about the test, about your homework, anything for the group. And then I'll stay online if people have individual questions. I'll be glad to answer individual questions as well. But are there any group questions I can answer? All right, hearing no group questions, I'm sorry I'm done a little early, but you have plenty of work to do. I don't have anything else, but I am willing to stay here and answer individual questions. So I'll be the last one to log off the meeting. Class is officially dismissed for Friday. You have a lot to study and do and get done. Can't wait to score those. Oh, I am going to score the methods, all the work this weekend. That's my goal, is to get caught up with my correcting in all my classes, especially this one. So I'll be putting those in the grade book. They will be there before the exam. Class dismissed. If anyone wants to ask an individual question, I'm here. I'll stay as long as I need to. I'm going to stop the meeting.